So something happens here in our house pretty much every spring into summer where we get an ant infestation. And so we went into the kitchen maybe last week and there were just ants everywhere, just swarming. And the ants, there was one of those horrific ant lines, looks like a military march going up to, just a little bit of sugar. And I remember when I was a kid, I always thought that there was, the ant queen back in the ant hill directing her soldiers in a regimented way to go out and fetch the sugar cube or picnic dish or whatever and bring it back one little bit at a time. It so happens that as I was observing in real life this ant infestation, I was also reading this incredible book called Notes on Complexity by, I think his name is Neil Theus or Teus. I'm not honestly sure how to pronounce it. And in talking about the way complex system change happens, he basically said all complex systems are driven by local interactions. And he happened to use as an example ant lines of ants. So there is grand marshal of the ant line. Instead, what happens is an ant will be out and about, going about their day. They'll come across some food, and the finding of the food triggers the secretion of a pheromone, right? A scent that then, as they walk back home to the ant colony, they kind of trail behind them. As another ant finds that scent, it follows it to the food source, and then it starts to trail the pheromone. And this happens over and over and over again until you get that very regimented line of ants. Now, if you zoom out, it looks like there's some sort of universal control at play, but there isn't. It's simply each ant following the scent that creates that orderly system of food retrieval. There's a really interesting additional element to this that I think is really, really cool, which is if you think about it, if that went on too long, all of the ants in the colony would leave and go to that food source to bring it back. And in the meantime, all of the operations that need to be done to maintain the ant colony would fall apart. So there's a self-limiting structure built in to that complex system, which is as soon as the ant begins to secrete that pheromone, it begins to fade, right? So it creates a negative feedback loop, kind of like an air conditioner in our house. We set it to 70, and as soon as the temperature goes down to 70, the air conditioner goes off. So as soon as that pheromone scent starts to diminish, the ant line will naturally dissipate because there's no more pheromone. And so in this way, the whole community, right, this complex system of ants is able to get nourishment from the food through collective action that's instigated at the local level. And the homestead, the ant farm, the colony, whatever it's called, also gets to be maintained. Super, super cool. And as I'm learning about this, I started to think about a conversation I had with a client who I've known for years. For 7 years, we've been working together, sometimes off and on, around all sorts of things, right? Family dynamics, work stuff, soul purpose, healing. And she looked at me and she never asked me this before because we were talking about soul purpose. And she went, "You know yours, right? Like, you know what what your purpose is." And I honestly hadn't thought about it for a while, and I paused because I wanted to give my client a real answer. And what came to me was that I don't actually know. If you asked me to articulate what the purpose of my soul is, I wouldn't be able to tell you in any kind of succinct way. And what I realized is that what I've been cultivating over time is to kind of listen to the whisper of my soul wanting to move me or nudge me in a certain direction. And generally, that direction is around helping others, building bridges between realms, um, but sometimes not, right? Sometimes it's about writing a solo show about my experiences, my first experiences with plant medicine in South America in 2012. Sometimes it's about travel, but it's that listening part that's so significant. And from there, I started to think about the ants and how none of them actually has the purpose of going to get food. It just, at a certain point, there's a pheromone that enters their system, and a complex set of interactions takes place internally that drives them to seek out food. So there is a obsession in our culture, and particularly in coaching culture, life coaching culture, healing culture, with helping people find their purpose. What is my purpose? And that purpose often exists outside of any kind of context, right? It's, oh, if I find my purpose, I will be happy, I will be fulfilled. And my purpose is something that is static. Once I find it, I've found it, I can just pursue it, no problem. But I think the truth, or my experience of this, is a little bit more complex, where each of our souls, right, each of our beings, each of our essence exists in a complex, constantly evolving system that, like all systems, tends towards or craves homeostasis. It craves stability. And so at any given moment, our soul's purpose is evolving and shifting in order to help promote stability in this larger system that has a purpose or a consciousness of its own. So if I tune in, or if I help someone tune in to their soul's purpose on any given Monday, it might be to be an amazing parent. My soul, I am here, my soul is here to be the best parent that's ever been. And then we tune in on Thursday, and it might be that their purpose is to create or cook the best lasagna. Terrible examples, but I think, you start to understand how this idea of a singular purpose is a little bit insane. So it feels like that what wants to be cultivated, especially right now, is the capacity to calibrate our internal listening, like our inner compass, so that more often than not, we can listen for those clues, just like the ants come across the pheromones and change direction. We can listen to those moments where our inner compass, responding to the larger systems that we're inside of, nudges us in a certain direction, and then have the courage, the support, the tools, the resources to follow that nudge and to trust it, trusting that wherever we are taken is in service of the greater whole. Just like the ants, not that they're thinking, ooh, I'm going to trust that pheromone, um, go off to get food until it's time not to get food. And then they become builders, then they become whatever their job is in the ant colony. So I thought that was interesting. I thought you might enjoy it as well. Let's see if there's anything else that wants to be shared on this. Just that I think that there is something so powerful and essential about cultivating this ability to calibrate the inner compass, cultivating this ability to tune in to the field of emergence that's wanting to be born through each of us individually and all of us collectively. And that is a skill set that has been not just lost, but willfully and aggressively stamped out over time by the culture, by the work of colonization. And so this idea of reattuning to the field is a deeply reconnecting, decolonizing process that flies in the face of everything that we've learned in or and through Western education, which tends to be quite linear. So next time that you see a line of ants, or next time that you are observing something that seems to be kind of a linear top down manifestation of activity in the natural world, I think it could be interesting to get curious and really query and ask, what are the local interactions that are happening that when we zoom out, it looks like a top down approach? There's another piece of this that feels relevant today, which is oftentimes top down leaders, whether it's in a corporate setting or politically, think that they exist outside of a system, right? And that they are mandating and controlling at a minute level everything that's happening beneath them. But what the natural world, what the ants tell us is that can't possibly be true because things are happening invisible to them at a local level, right? There are ant lines forming, there are colonies building that are happening to help um, shift the whole system within which everyone, including that kind of top down tyrannical autocratic leader, they also exist within that system that's wanting to reestablish homeostasis. So I think that's interesting as well. Have a great day. I think that's all that wants to be shared right now. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon.